meeting is being recorded.
Hi, and welcome everyone to tonight's presentation about service coordination in birth to three. Before we begin, let's go over a few housekeeping items. Please keep in mind that this presentation is being recorded and it will be available on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Therefore, please pay attention to your cameras and microphones. If you have any questions, please use the reaction buttons to raise your hand. Also, feel free to add questions to the chat. Please remember this is a public forum, so keep in mind when you're sharing personal information. As I said before, we do have interpretation services. Everyone must select a channel. In the lower portion of your screen are the controls. Please click on the globe icon and select English or Spanish to access the information in your selected language. We will be putting constantly the reminder in the chat. Again, welcome everyone. My name is Adriana Fontaine, and I am the Early Childhood Programs Manager at the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. For those of you who are not familiar with our agency, we are the Parent Training and Information Center for the state of Connecticut. We offer over-the-phone consultation regarding special education law and special education process, among many other services. We also have two programs for families of young children with developmental delays and disabilities, Family Connections for those who are enrolled in birth to three, and the Preschool Pathfinder program for families experiencing difficulties and challenges transitioning from birth to three into pre-K special ed. I want to thank our presenters for being here tonight and for preparing this informative session about service coordination in birth to three. Welcome, Anne and Beth, and all yours if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, welcome. I'm actually going to share my screen now, so let's see if this works. Hang on one second. Alrighty. Uh-oh, I'm not seeing it. Are you seeing that?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Oh boy, hang on one second.
Sorry, everybody.
Sorry about this.
No worries.
Hang on one second.
And we practice too.
And we practice.
And we practice.
Okay, hang on. This is embarrassing. Maybe you can guide me through this. I have my link up.
Do you want me to share it? Do you want me to try? Or do you need to access?
Well, I'm not sure why it's not going on. Hitting share screen, and I've got it up in a link. Let me see. Let me try this one more time. Here we go. I got it.
Excellent.
There we go.
Yep, we see it.
Okay. Just get into my okay. Sorry about that. Everybody see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, welcome everybody. Sorry about that. My name is Anne Marrinan. I and my colleague Beth is here to share with you guys what service coordination is all about. Thank you for joining us. We hope that when you leave our little in-service here, you leave with some new information and you feel like you have a better understanding of what service coordination is. I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit. I'm a certified special ed teacher. I have been in the field for many years, over 25 years. I started my career in early childhood special ed. So I was in the public school system working with children ages 3 to 5 in preschool special ed in the public school system. And from there, I had children transitioning from birth to three. So that was my introduction to birth to three. It really piqued my interest. I loved the idea of helping families more directly and being in the home and being in that natural setting. So as time went on, I kind of switched out of public school and made my way into the early intervention world of birth to 3. I've been working with Reachout for 3 years now. We are in Hamden and we service 3 towns. We service Meriden, we service Hamden, and we service Shelton. I am a mother of 3. My husband and I have 3 children between the ages of 18 and 24. And I was on the other side of things as well. And one of my children actually received birth to 3 services, my 22-year-old, many years ago. It looked a little different, but it was still that idea of having a nice, strong support system for me at home to help my daughter with, it was gross motor skills with her walking and things like that. And, you know, you would think that being a special ed teacher, it would have just come naturally to me, but when it's your own child, it's just a little bit different. So I got to see that side of things as well as being the parent. And Beth, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I am Beth Gaillard. I am a social worker with Birth to 3, Reachout. I have been in the social work field for about 22 years, which seems really long to say out loud. So I have been with Birth to 3 and Reachout primarily for the last 14 years. Before that, I ran a family resource center and I also worked for DCF. And I say previous life, it was a long, long time ago before I had my kids. I have 2 kids myself. I have a daughter who's 16 and a son who is 12. And my son did go through the Birth to 3 system as well, some speech delays, all that kind of stuff, PPTs, and still going through PPTs myself currently with him. So, you know, like Ann said, we've both on both ends of it and stuff. So, and anywhere 3 of you guys have questions, you know, stop us, put it in the chat, let us know. Ann and I are we're really flexible. So answer questions throughout the way. And if it's, you know, something outside of kind of service coordinate, we'll do our best to answer or put you in the right direction if we can. So
yeah, we can pause after each slide and
yeah,
give you guys a chance to share or ask a question. You don't have to wait till the end. Just, and feel free, you could put it in the chat if you're not comfortable talking in front of everybody. Okay. So what are we going to explore today? We're going to help you understand the definition of service coordination. We're going to talk about what this means for you as a family and not just your child, because it is all about your entire family, not just your little one that is in need of services. We're going to talk about who's involved and who can help you along the way, in addition to your service coordinator, and what exactly your service coordinator can do for you. So when I don't know who here is in Birth to 3 right now. I know we kind of have a variety, but with our agency, when we have an evaluation and a child is eligible, they get a little handout that says, "Welcome to Birth to 3. My name is so-and-so, and I will be your service coordinator." What does that mean? So I pretty much pulled up the definition of service coordinator off the Birth to 3 website and put it on there. But in a nutshell, a service coordinator is the person who is going to help you with your early intervention services and supports. They're going to help you along the way with the IFSP, your individualized family service plan. We're going to help you with transitioning out of Birth to 3, which I know is sometimes a very anxious time for families, and to coordinate with any other agencies outside of our actual agency. That could be an agency that specializes in autism, that could be specialists, and we'll get into more detail about that. Typically, your service coordinator is the person you will see the most. It's that person on your plan who will service your child the most. I do have to say that that's not always the case, because you do need to be certified to be a service coordinator. So there are times where the person just hasn't been through the training yet, and they will assign a service coordinator to support them until they're trained. I know in our agency, I think pretty much everybody in our agency is certified and is a certified service coordinator. So that'll be the person that sees your child and you the most. It could be a teacher, a developmental therapist is what you might hear. It could be your social worker. It could be a physical therapist, the occupational therapist, a speech and language pathologist. And on top of that, that's the person you'll go to with all your questions and your concerns, but there's also a whole team of people behind the scenes that are there for your support. Anything else? Did I miss anything there, Beth?
No?
Okay. We are going to help you through the journey, and our goal is to have you leave with a nice full toolbox of skills and services that you feel confident when you leave Birth to 3. We're going to help you navigate through all of that. So I mentioned a couple of times that there's a whole team. So your child may qualify for Birth to 3 services. We'll have an IFSP meeting and we'll talk about that in a little while. And maybe we decide as a team, because you are part of that decision, we don't do anything without your permission. It will just be a developmental therapist on the team and maybe weekly, and then a speech and language pathologist once a month. But in addition to that, there's team members available at our agency and outside of our agency. Whoops, hang on a second. I just lost my notes. Okay, here they are. That could be an occupational therapist. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, an occupational therapist is a therapist who focuses on those fine motor skills that a child may have delays in. A lot of times with babies, it's around feeding issues or sensory issues, some concerns around that. It could be a social worker like Beth, and she will get into a little bit more detail about what that covers, but a social worker can help you advocate for yourself to navigate some community services and some assistance you might need, whether it's financial assistance, housing, whatever. We've got a whole bunch of information regarding that. We have developmental therapy associates as well as developmental therapists that are part of the team. Those are essentially teachers. A developmental therapy associate is basically can do everything a developmental therapist can do except standardized testing. And everybody on the team is very knowledgeable. It might not be their expertise, but we're all very knowledgeable about all areas of development when it comes to children. And if there's any concerns that we're not sure of, we can reach out to a team member. It could be a speech and language pathologist, a speech therapist. A lot of parents have concerns. They have an evaluation for their child in Birth to 3 because their child's not talking. They don't have any words. That would cover receptive language and expressive language for your child. It could be a physical therapist. A physical therapist specializes in those big motor skills, the gross motor, the baby who's not walking just yet or has trouble navigating through. Sometimes we'll have children that qualify for services early on and automatically because of physical disabilities, and a physical therapist would be involved with that. Your pediatrician is part of the team. They are on the IFSP, and with your permission, we send copies of the evaluation and notification of an IFSP. In addition to that, you can request anybody to be on the team. There could be a grandparent, a daycare provider, a babysitter, other specialists. Anybody that you would like to be a support on the team and be involved with your child is on the team. And then, of course, the most important member of the team is you and your family. We don't do anything without your permission. You call the shots. And you have a whole team of people who are behind the scenes to support you in any way that you need. Does anybody have any questions about this piece? No.
I don't see any questions in the
Okay.
chat, but I do have a quick one.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the pediatricians are listed in the IFSP.
Yeah.
So the input that you collect from the pediatrician can be translated into the IFSP under concerns or things to do. Is that how it can go?
Yeah.
Or it's just,
I mean, if the family wants the pediatrician involved, absolutely. But usually, to be honest, the pediatricians don't usually give us sort of any information. We're sort of letting the pediatrician know that we've written a plan, that they're eligible, because sometimes the doctors are the ones to refer. And I could remind everybody, you don't need, and you let everybody else, you don't need your pediatrician to refer. You can refer. Anybody can refer. We get that a lot. That like, I always get that. I do a lot of evaluations and people are like, well, I was just waiting for my doctor. You don't need to wait for your doctor. That's a lot of, I think, a misconception out there. But so we'll let your doctor know that we've written a plan, that kind of stuff. But they don't usually, a lot of them don't have a lot of input into what we do, but we're happy to have them have the input if that's what the family wants.
got it. Thanks.
Right. And if a family has a pediatrician appointment and they want us to attend with them, we absolutely can do that to support them there.
Yep. Yeah. Now we're going to switch over to, we're talking a little bit about your parent rights, which is a huge deal. And we like everybody to know about parent rights. You sometimes, if you're with us, you'll get sick of hearing us talk about your parent rights because we talk about them a lot. So, because you guys, the families are in the driver's seat. So you'll notice if you've ever been through an evaluation or if you're going to be through, or if you're a provider, to know that you have to give written consent to evaluate your child in any part of the process, any sort of initial evaluation, a change in the service plan, if we're going to do a developmental checklist, if we're going to do an MChat, an autism screener, any sort of testing, any sort of thing, you're going to get written consent for you guys, and also going to get prior written notice ahead of time that we're going to do that. We don't just kind of spring things on you. We do it together. Everybody is aware. Next one is, oh, that's why I said you receive notice. Say I was getting ahead of myself. You receive notification before any evals, assessments, eligibility, IFSP meetings, transition meetings, exiting, everything. We're, like we said, we're not going to spring. You're going to know what's coming next. And we talk about things a lot. So you'll get used to sort of hearing about transition. IFSP meetings are coming up. We always have these time frame. We don't go sit in our car and do things ourselves. Everything is done together. And then you have the right to a written plan for your child. So when your child is eligible, or any child's eligible, we will set up a IFSP meeting right away. I think Reachout likes to pride ourselves on that we don't even wait for the report to get written. We get started right away. I can't imagine we wait longer than a week or two. By Birth 3, you have about 45 days. But if you're with us, you're lucky enough to be with us, you're never going to wait 45 days. It will never happen. So you will have a written plan, and we'll do that together. We'll come out and we'll write the plan and goals together in regards to what your concerns are. And Birth to 3 is really routine based. So we really talk about your routines and what you want to see, even if it's something your child became eligible for, but you really want to work on something else, then we're going to work on that too. We don't have to just go with what they came eligible for. It's what the families want and routine based.
Beth, we have a question.
Absolutely.
Triana is asking, are notifications, documents, and evaluations given in parents' primary language?
Yes.
Yes. Well, yes, I think I'd have to probably go look on the Birth to 3 website. I don't know how many languages are provided, but I know there is a lot, and we will work on also getting a translator if a translator is needed. Within our agency, we have Spanish-speaking therapists who will come with us, but if we need another interpreter, and we've worked with a lot of Arabic interpreters, kind of different stuff.
They can join
and
us.
if it's not written in that, we'll ask the interpreter to write it for us for that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Beth.
And go back to confidentiality. We
Oh
want
my
to make sure
gosh,
we
I don't
touch
know if
on.
I can go back to that.
All right, well, don't worry about it. Leave it. We're going to talk about confidentiality. Another one of your parent rights is confidentiality. So we can't talk to anybody without your guys' permission. So we can't talk to the pediatrician. We can't talk to the daycare without a written permission. We can't even talk to your mother or your mother-in-law or your aunt, anybody. We have to have permission. And once we have your permission, we'll freely go with what the family wants. The one sort of exception for that is DCF. So we are mandated reporters. So if we have a concern, we do like to let the families know if it's possible. We will let the families know we're making a call, but we are mandated reporters. So if DCF calls us back after that, we can talk about our concerns. And also if a child is in DCF custody, we don't need a release. As long as the DCF has custody, we can talk to DCF freely without a release. We always like to tell families. I will, majority of the time I end up talking to DCF workers as a social worker. I always like to tell families, hey, I'm going to call them, or hey, they called me today. They wanted an update, that kind of stuff. So we want everybody to know that that's kind of the only area that gets a little tricky on that. Also, you can review your child's record at any time. We do notes at every visit. Most offices do. A lot of them are moved to computer. We are still paper bound. So if you're with us, you're going to get a carbon copy. We're going to rip it apart and give you one of our notes. But we keep a file in the office and you can review it at any time. And when your child exits, you can get the full record from us after a few months, after we make sure everything's good and everything's in there. And we also save it in our computer for 7 years. And that's also one of your rights. You will sign for that to everybody to know that you can have a copy of it. You can have the full original record after a few months after they close out. So if any time you lose one note or you're with an agency who's not doing them, not handing you notes, and you wanted to see something that happened a couple weeks ago, you absolutely can ask at any time to see your child's record. They may have you come into the office. I don't think it's, or we'll make copies just because we don't hate to take a file out of the office. We don't want anything that ever happened to it. Everything is done in natural environments. Since we talked about being, routine based, we go to homes, we go to daycares, we go to anybody else's house where your child's at in the community. We've been to grocery stores and Targets, the park. All right, and we'll go everywhere.
Music classes.
Music classes, as long as it's in our catchment area, we're happy to go
anywhere. And sometimes
anywhere,
parents are so surprised by that. They're like, oh, I'm usually doing this at that time. Like, oh, we can join you. You're going to BJ's? We'll join you.
Yeah. If transitions and outings are a hard thing, we'll happily come with you to kind of work through that together, because that's part of your routine. That's part of your life. And like Ann said, doctor's appointments. We'll come to doctor's appointments with families, especially if it's a lot going on, a lot of medically compromised stuff. Sometimes they want us to help kind of talk about what we've been doing so the doctor sort of understands. Parent rights is a long one. There's a lot of your rights.
It is a long one.
You also have the right. Were you going to say something?
Yes, ladies, remember to speak a little bit slowly.
I know. I did warn you ahead of time. I am a fast talker, everybody. I'm really sorry. I'm going to breathe. Okay. So you have the right to file a written complaint or request mediation if you are unhappy with your provider, or if you feel your rights have been violated. Absolutely, there is steps. We always say, please speak to your service coordinator. If you feel that that's not something you can do, then you can go to our director or the directors of any agency and up through the state. And I always like to throw in, you also can call and say something nice about us. We like nice comments too. It doesn't just always have to be negative. We like when our boss tells us, hey, somebody called about you guys. Makes us feel good. We'll continue to do our job either way if you don't call, but we like that too.
But please, if you ever, like Beth said, have any concerns at all, please talk to your service coordinator. And if you're not comfortable with that, like she said, go to the director, because we would want to try to fix things within our team and within the agency first.
And don't feel like you ever have to be stuck with the provider or with the therapist you have. It happens a lot. Sometimes personalities don't match. A kid doesn't respond. You absolutely have the right to ask for a different provider. And also, that's it. You have the right to request a change, and you see, I was right on it, Ann.
Yeah.
Right to change a request to change your birth to 3 agency. Within every town, there is at least 2, if not more, and you can ask to change at any time. You're not stuck with what you have if you're unhappy, or if you heard about this one, or you've had a provider before. You absolutely, it is your right to request that.
Make a change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and oh yeah. So this is what I'm gonna say. So as I said, you'll see these. These are what kind of the rights look like. There's a couple in different languages there. These are on the Birth to 3 website. We also will offer them to you at everything. We'll ask them to you at every eval.
We always say you can end up like wallpapering a room by the time you leave us.
That's what we say all the time. You get it at every IFSP. Everybody refuses after a while, but if you want them at any time, they're available.
Please go to the Birth to 3 website. There's so much there, and you can access in a number of different languages too.
Yeah.
And I did put the link in the chat for Birth to 3.
Good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So what exactly is going to happen, and what is your service coordinator going to do for you? Initially, you're going to have your eligibility eval. Your child will be, if your child is eligible, we will, like Beth said, we will schedule an IFSP meeting that usually happens pretty quickly and many times before the report's even written. But once we get that evaluation written, we will review it with you. We will see if you have any questions about it, and please make sure you read through it and make sure it's accurate, because everybody makes mistakes. And sometimes there might be something in there that you disagree with, and we can change that. We don't want anything in there that you're not comfortable with. And so, that's our number one goal. In addition to that, I've got to move my little notes here because I can't totally see this board. Beth already talked about this, but we will guide you in developing the IFSP. So that is when we go through your health history with your child and all the routines that are typical throughout a day. We'll talk about bedtime and mealtime and playtime and outings and daycare and diaper changes, and discussing all of those routines through your day usually helps you kind of come up with ideas to create an outcome or a goal to focus on for our visits. It is important to know that you may come up with one goal. Say it's, my child doesn't use his words at mealtime. He doesn't tell me when he's done, and he just throws his plate on the floor. So we will, with you, come up with a goal and write a goal about that. But when we have our visits, it doesn't always have to be around mealtime. This is just something that we can focus on when we review it in 6 months to say, oh, look at the progress he's made. Now he's saying all done. But at each visit, we will work on whatever it is you want to, and that's discussed at the visits. What do you want to work on in between? What do you want to work on when I come for your next visit? IFSPs are reviewed every 6 months at least, but anytime that you want to revisit the IFSP, we can have an IFSP meeting. We can change goals. We can add specialists. We can make any changes that you like. We can have an IFSP, and a month later you're not comfortable with it, we can rewrite it again. That's not a problem at all.
And we've been told that there's a, sorry, Anna,
no, go ahead.
We've been told there's a new IFSP coming. So in the next 6 months or so, that's what the state has told us.
We don't know what it looks like.
We have no idea what it looks like. we have no idea. So we'll probably get a look at it, and we'll bring it up to families, and if you have an IFSP coming up in the next 6 to 8 months to a year, we all may be working on a new IFSP together, but we have
they like to keep us on our toes. Once we all get comfortable with it, they're like, oh, let's change it.
And that's what's happening with the new IEP as well.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I heard
speaking
that.
of that topic, we do have a question.
I saw that. Yep.
Yes, so I think, I don't know if I'm mispronouncing, I'm probably, but he's asking about the process to get in touch with a care coordinator for kids with autism, age 6. And if I may say something, just that these services that we're covering right now are from birth to 3, and they're part of early intervention. Ages 3 to 22 is covered by the school district. If your child has an individualized educational program, on the first page is the name of your case manager. And I'm gonna put in my email as well as CPAC's phone number so that we can talk a little bit more about your situation and the services that you're trying to find. But there are 2 separate delivery models. So there's the early intervention, and then there's the special education process. And I don't know if you want to unmute, or Beth, and have any other comments for the question.
Yeah, you know what? I did mean to mention that earlier, the Individual Disabilities Act. IDEA in 1986 added Part C, and Part C is birth to 3. That's early intervention, and that's what we're talking about today. Part B is the school system. So like Adriana said, if you have any concerns and your child is older than age 3, you would contact your school system for some guidance. And we'll actually talk about the transition and what the school thing looks like. So that might help you a little bit there too.
And I'm just putting my information. I saw the second comment, you're looking for an educational advocate. So our agency, the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, can definitely provide you guidance and one-on-one consultation. So the number is in the chat as well as my email.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. During birth to 3 services, we do administer developmental assessments about every 6 months or sooner if the parent wants to. Those are pretty informal. They're over there. It's in that little blue square. We like to use a developmental assessment called the HELP, and it's kind of this spreadsheet. So we'll go over every area of development. We'll cover, you know, gross motor, fine motor, social skills, communication skills, and cognitive skills, and check off with the family, sitting with the family and talking with you about what your child does. Sometimes we'll engage the child. Sometimes it's just an interview to see where your child's sitting. And in the end, you get to see this spreadsheet of all the skills your child can do and some areas that you might want to focus on. And then when we look at it again in 6 months or sooner, sometimes families are like, hey, can we go over that developmental assessment again? I feel like he's made all this progress. We'll highlight things in a different color, and you can see all the growth your child has made. And again, some target areas we're like, oof, we should probably start focusing on this. He's not, you know, quite talking, or wherever that concern is. In addition to that, every year we'll do another annual evaluation, and that's more of a formal evaluation like we did for the eligibility eval. So that could look like a formal developmental eval. We use the Battelle. Sometimes it's an evaluation called the Mullen. It could include a very specific speech and language formal evaluation, as well as some behavior rating scales. It really, you talk as a team about what you want to use for the evaluation and where your concerns are, and then we'll evaluate, we'll write up a report, just like the eligibility eval, and that happens annually. And from there, you know, with your permission, we'll share with the pediatrician. Let's see. We already talked about supporting you in the natural environment, because that makes the most sense. And, you know, our big goal is that we want to support you and your child and really empower you to work with your child. You know, years ago, birth to three, we would come with our bag of toys and we'd sit on the floor with your child and play. But really in the end, then we're putting those toys right back in our bag and we're leaving. And the kid's like, hey, I want that puzzle. I want that toy. Now we use what's in the home. It makes more sense to do it in their natural environment where they naturally learn. And we empower you to work with your child, and we talk together to come up with strategies that work for all of you. I can sit there and tell you, try this and try that, but it might not work for you. So we talk as a team and we coach you and help you come up with strategies and ways to work with your child, and to advocate for yourself and look for resources out in the community. In addition to that, we can coordinate services with other professionals. So you may just have me on your team, a developmental therapist, and I could come out weekly, and your child's, 15 months old, and then all of a sudden your child's 19 months old or 20 months old, and he's not talking. He's still not talking. So we could call in a speech consult to come in, take a look, and give you some advice. We can call in a physical therapist to come and take a look if your child's not just quite walking yet, or if you have any concerns with a picky eater, an occupational therapist, or if you need some help outside in the community with any kind of assistance, we can call the social worker in. If we feel like services are more than just a consult, we want to add them to the plan, we can add them to the plan. We just have an IFSP meeting and change the service plan. And if you ever feel, please don't wait for us to express those concerns. We really want you to advocate for yourself and your child and let us know what you need. And we're there to help you along the way. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay. In addition to that, our goal is to help guide you to access resources out in the community. I'm trying to move my notes here. And many times there's other specialists that you may need access to. It could be an audiologist for hearing concerns, a neurologist, a cardiologist, dietitians, dentists. We can help you find a person to contact, a specialist to contact, to guide you through the process, help you with the paperwork, attend appointments. I know a big thing is kind of guiding you along with families that have concerns about autism. We may do an MChat at the initial evaluation, and there may be, 5 concerns on the MChat. We will have some discussions about that. And if the family is interested in seeking a more formal evaluation, we can show you what agencies are available in your area, and you can decide which one, and we can help contact and schedule the appointment. We can attend the appointment with you and go through the whole process.
We can also, we can also, community programs, we refer to these a lot. If there's free programs in your community, at the libraries, for playgroups or family resource centers, we'll try, if that's something people are interested in. Thankfully, those stuff is all coming back. We know a lot of our little kids haven't really been out of the house much in the last 2.5 years. So we definitely are finding that information back, what people can go to, the park and rec programs, what's available, support groups, if you're looking for a support group for yourself, if, for whatever your child's going through, that kind of stuff, we'll find out what's out there, or even siblings, that kind of stuff. And any sort of specialty programs, anything you're thinking of. And we do a family needs assessment, sort of a kind of asking you sort of questions throughout the process, so we can kind of guide you into that kind of stuff, or whatever comes up through talking. Also, childcare and preschool programs. If that's something you're looking for, we will tell you what's in the area, which ones we've been to, and all that kind of stuff, and what's available around in the areas. Next slide. Yeah, perfect. Here's some, the other stuff is also accessing state and community services. This is a lot of the stuff that I do that gets sent to me as a social worker. The top one on there is housing, which is my arch nemesis. Is housing is one of the hardest things to find, but I will certainly put people a lot in directions of what's available, what community resources you can sort of go to. That's possibly looking for stuff. I try to keep myself on the pulse of what's out there. But DDS, which is the Department of Developmental Services, which is really accessed a lot when kids are older, but we try to get our families into those services if they've needed. WIC, for any families that need it. Husky, SNAP, the food assistance. I have done these applications like a gazillion times. So I help try to families with you to support you through that, because they're daunting, they're overwhelming programs. But so I try to help you through that. Care for Kids is great, and they have just changed again their qualifications. So if you haven't used Care for Kids in a while, they've just increased on how much you can make in regards to how much to get access to the program. So it's been really, really great. I have lots of families that use Care for Kids. 2-in-1 childcare, you can call 2-in-1 for lots of stuff. So sometimes we'll call together, or we'll look up online together. SSI, that is also another big program. If your child has a disability, if they have something that's SSI is long lasting, life lasting, or something like autism would be one, but also if your child is born with cerebral palsy, anything like any sort of things, and we can talk through that, what would be eligible, cash assistance and food stamps, and anything just in the community, what's happening out there. That's one of your things that you're even if you don't have a social worker on your plan, your service coordinator will kind of guide you through that. But a lot of the times, this is where a lot of social workers get called in, because we're pretty
we'll call Beth. Help.
They call me. Yeah. So, but just so you know, those things are out there that we can help you through. The one thing we can't do is get you all these things. We can't say, yes, you qualify. We don't have any control over what you qualify for. We're just here to support you through the process, talk you through it. I give a lot of suggestions on, things that I've been through with other families, but we can never, unfortunately, we don't have the access to say, yes, you're approved for all this kind of stuff. It's out of the birth to 3 kind of realm, but we like to support you in the community resources. Any questions about that kind of stuff before we just talk about transition? I know that's a big area sometimes. Okay.
No,
Fine.
okay. So when your child turns 3, they exit birth to 3. It's actually the day before their 3rd birthday. It's one of the hardest days for me to say goodbye to our little friends that we've been helping along the way. You can also obviously choose to exit birth to 3 at any time. You are not forced to stay there, to stay with us. We hope you stay, and we hope you accept our support, but you can exit at any time. And sometimes children are exited because they're doing completely fine and they really don't need our services anymore. But if your child does stay with our program and is going to stay until they're 3, we have something that is called a transition meeting, or a TRC. A TRC is held 90 days prior to your child turning 3, and the local, your school district is invited with your permission. That is the LEA. We have a form for you to sign to release information to the school district. The special ed preschool program coordinator will receive that information, and they would get a copy of any evaluations we have done and the IFSP, and then we would invite that person to the transition meeting. With COVID, they've been attending remotely. Like in the past, it was really hard for them to actually sometimes attend these meetings. So this is a birth to 3 meeting. This is not a school system meeting. This is our birth to 3 meeting, and we invite them. But it's amazing because now with Zoom and everything, they can, take a break from their classroom or whatever and join a TRC meeting. Whereas before COVID, it was a little bit more difficult because they had to have the time to leave and come to the house. At that meeting, hang on one sec. At the TRC meeting, we will share information. You'll share information about your child's strengths, your child's challenges, to just kind of better educate the representative. And we will talk about what the next steps are when your child turns 3. And those next steps involve, if you choose to include the school system, would involve getting the school system involved. And the next step in that would be what's called a PPT meeting, a planning and placement team meeting. This meeting is a school district meeting. They would schedule it and they would invite you to the meeting. It's usually held, well, these days, sometimes they're remote. We would attend with you. And this is an opportunity, again, to share in more detail your child's strengths and challenges, your hopes and dreams about your child. We will talk about, how they are performing for us in all areas of development, where our concerns are, and what their current services are. There's 2 meetings. The first meeting, if the school system feels that they need to do further evaluations to determine whether your child qualifies for services in the public school system, they will ask your permission to do an evaluation. And again, nothing is done without your permission. You will sign permission or not sign permission, and they will do some further evaluations. Once those evaluations are completed, and they have their results, there will be another planning and placement team meeting where they will discuss the results and discuss if your child qualifies for services and what those services look like. And those services can range from not qualifying at all, that your child's doing fine and they really recommend just a regular preschool program or daycare, or it could be just speech services, or it could be programming in their preschool special ed program.
And can I jump in there? Just
Yeah.
a couple things we wanted to add. When Ann's talking about what a PPT meeting is, and it's really the school's meeting with the family, you can have whoever you would like there. You can add us. We always love to come, but if you didn't want us there, you didn't need to. You don't have to have us, but we always pretty much come with talking to you. But you can have anybody with you. You can have and you're going to talk about CPAC before. They can an advocate if you needed somebody. Hopefully not in the first one, that you don't usually need them in the first one, but if you do, but you can have any other family members, any other to support you. Also, to know that when you're going into a PPT meeting, sometimes it can be overwhelming because there are lots of people around the table. There is usually an administrator. There's somebody who's in charge of the special education program. There's usually a teacher. Maybe if it's a speech concern, there's a speech pathologist or a physical therapist. So it can look overwhelming because there's a lot of people. But really, it's your time to, obviously talk, and we're there to support you. And the other thing to talk about is our PPT meeting and TRC is that you could revoke that at any time. You can go through the entire process, and when you get to the end, or even halfway through, and you go, you know what, I don't want to do this, and I don't think our child needs it, or we're not interested in this. You can revoke it any time. You can go all the way through the process. The school can tell you what they're eligible for, and you also can say no, thank you. Yep. It is not against the law. It is not against a call to DCF if you do not want to take special education services. Not until the child is 6 do they have to attend school or have to have a plan for homeschooling. But for preschool, special education, you don't have to. I know a lot of people worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that they're going to get in trouble for saying no. But
no, we will not get in trouble, and we don't get mad. We just want to support you guys, and we talk about transition from the day you come in, even if you have a newborn, because it does happen so fast, and we don't like anybody to be sprung upon that, like, oh, wait, we're talking about transition now, because it does happen. And also to remember, like we said, the new IEP. So, because ours is an IFSP. Did I say that right? It's getting
Yeah.
late in the day. Did I say that right? Individualized Family Service Plan. Theirs is an IEP, which is an individualized education plan. So it's just a little bit different. It looks a lot different than our plan. Our plan is very routine based, very family centered, it does not look like that when you get it. And I don't know what the new one's going to look like. I'm eager to find out what it's going to look like as
I
well.
haven't seen them yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. But just to know that it is very school-based and it is very educational-based, numbers, letters when your kid's little, that's what their goals are, kind of stuff. It's not about brown potty training. It's not about, it can be, but it just looks a lot different. So just to prepare yourself, it's a different transition.
Yeah.
The support looks a lot different. But we try to talk about that through that. So you're aware of that. And then, if you get through the process, even after us, and you need CPAC, they're available. We always refer to CPAC because they're so knowledgeable and so great through this whole process. They help us sometimes, and we have come up with things with school systems and families, even though, we've been doing this a long time, things still come up. And we don't just leave you high and dry. We will help support you in that.
Thanks, Beth. And maybe this is a good moment just to briefly mention that CPAC does have the preschool pathfinder, and we do one-on-one assistance for families who are experiencing challenges. Like Beth and Anne have been saying, transitioning is very difficult. So we do have parent consultants that can review records with families and attend the transition conference, as well as the PPT.
Perfect. Yeah. And if your child doesn't qualify or you don't want to refer, to know that we will help you find any resources in the community, whether it's a preschool, a daycare, or it's just community programs. Or if you're looking to homeschool, we try to find like programs. I have a couple of moms who homeschool. So we try to hook people up with, so what's out there when you're leaving us, so that there's some sort of plan and that you're feeling satisfied and content with, hopefully, with what the next steps are for your babies.
And know that if you decide not to go with services, which is 100% fine, it's whatever you're comfortable with, and then down the road, you're like, I do have concerns, you contact your LEA, your school district, and request a meeting and request an evaluation. Anybody have questions about that?
I do not see any questions in the chat.
Okay. If you come up with any questions, after this is over, you can always message Adriana and she can let us know, or our emails are listed up on I think the first slide. You can reach out to one of us if you have any questions about anything. And of course, access that Birth to 3 website. There is so much on there. It's parent resources, and you can find tons of information to support you along the way if you have any questions.
And thank you, Griselle, for putting that stuff up there. I'm actually writing it down right now. I like new resources. So don't think I won't be calling you to ask you questions.
Anytime.
Thank you. I
Our
will.
group is for support parents and kids, and we provide meetings for the parents one time of the month, for educator, but also for support each other. And the other day of the week is we're doing some activity for the kids. For example, we went last night to Fantasy Lights. We was on 70 people.
That's
in
awesome.
the bus. Next week, 23rd, we have a Christmas party when we provide a gift for all the kids between the age, the babies to 21, but we have older too. We have the older is 36.
Wow.
And we went to Steam Trim. We provided a lot of diversion for the kids. A lot
That's
of
great.
places when we bring the kids. We went to the bowling. for 8 weeks. And we want to engage more people. We have 2 groups, one in English and one in Spanish. I the facilitator
wonderful.
in
Oh, that's
Spanish.
wonderful.
That's
And
wonderful.
and probably I will be sending you email because
Please.
also we have some meeting one time on Wednesdays, the call inter-agency, when Lara agency from Milford, Shelton, CPAC also is part us, DCF, West 7 board ed. We share for 1.5 hours. We share research, service, and we address people to go to those service too.
Well, yeah, definitely please send that to me.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
I will certainly happy to.
Thank you.
Let us know
Grisel,
about-
you put the information in the chat. So if you guys scroll up, the information that she just shared is in there as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very important, and our families do need some fun as well. So
And Adriana, I need people from Spanish. I wanted more parents because they are afraid to participate.
yes, let's connect and see how we can promote.
That's wonderful.
That's
and you guys have our emails. If you know programs out there, I'm always happy to learn about something new that I can pass on to families.
Absolutely.
Just one person researching as much as I can, and things change so quickly. So we're always happy if you have something you want to share with us that you think families would benefit from. That would be really great.
Excellent. Okay, I think we're doing great in time. We ended at 7. I want to thank you both, Beth and Ann, for a wonderful, informative session, and to everyone that joined as well. And Lady Ann, thank you so much for taking care of the interpretation. And we will see you next time when we have a next learning series. Okay, thank you everyone, and have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.